Motivation is not your problem. It never was. The real problem is that you've been treating an idea like it's a plan. And ideas, no matter how powerful, have a 100% failure rate when they stay in your head. Here's what motivation actually looks like in practice. You get an idea, a business, a new routine, a financial goal, and for a moment it feels electric. You can see it clearly. You feel capable, energized, ready. So you start. Sometimes you even overdo it in the first few days, working late, skipping sleep, telling people about your plans. And then something ordinary happens. A bad day, a slow result, a moment where the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels too wide. And just like that, the feeling is gone. You procrastinate. One day becomes three. Three becomes a week. And now you're not just stuck, you're frustrated. But here's what nobody talks about. Every time this cycle repeats, it doesn't just cost you the goal, it costs you confidence. Each failed attempt leaves a mark. You start the next thing with slightly less belief in yourself. And eventually, you don't ask whether the approach was wrong, you ask whether you are wrong, whether you're simply someone who can't follow through. That pattern even has a name in psychology. It's called false hope syndrome. The cycle of unrealistic optimism, overcommitment, early failure, and self-blame that repeats. Not because you lack character, but because you're using the wrong tool entirely. Motivation is the wrong tool, and it was never designed to do what you're asking it to do. So if motivation is the wrong tool, what's the right one? Discipline. But not the way most people think about it. Most people hear discipline and picture someone waking up at 4 a.m., working through pain, never missing a day. That's not discipline. That's performance. Real discipline is simpler and far less dramatic. Discipline is consistency of actions over time. It's showing up and doing the work even when you don't feel like it. Not because you're extraordinary, not because you have more willpower than everyone else, but because you've decided that the action happens regardless of the feeling. And here's what that looks like in practice. It doesn't mean never missing a day. Life happens. You travel, you celebrate. A busy week pulls you away from the plan. That's not failure. That's being human. The difference is what happens next. The motivated person uses that interruption as an exit. The disciplined person treats it as a pause. The other thing most people get wrong about discipline is the size of the effort. They think consistency means doing a lot every single day. It doesn't. 30 minutes today beats 3 hours next week. Every time. Because 30 minutes today creates something, 3 hours next week never can. A pattern. And this isn't philosophy. It's how the brain actually works. Repeated actions build neural pathways. The more you do something, the less mental energy it requires. What felt like effort on day 1 becomes automatic by month 3. Discipline is simply giving your brain enough repetitions to make the behavior feel natural. You're not fighting yourself forever. You're rewiring yourself gradually. And patterns, repeated long enough, stop feeling like effort. They become identity. They become who you are. That's the shift nobody warns you about. You don't build discipline by forcing yourself forever. You build it until the thing you were forcing becomes the thing you protect. Until missing it feels wrong. Until it stops being something you run from and becomes something you return to. So what actually changes when you replace motivation with discipline? Not your schedule, not your goals, your relationship with action itself. Here's the most important thing I can tell you, and it's something most people get completely backwards. You don't need confidence to start. You need a decision. Confidence is not what gets you moving. Confidence is what you build by moving. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, every time you do the work without the emotional high, You deposit something into your self-belief that motivation never could. Because you prove to yourself that you don't need the feeling to function. That's not a small thing. That's everything. So the first practical shift is this. Stop waiting to feel ready. Make the decision. Start before you're confident. Start especially when you're not. The second shift is accountability. Discipline is easier when someone knows what you're building, not a crowd, one person. Tell them what you're doing, what you're committed to, and when you'll check in. Not for permission, for accountability. That single conversation changes the weight of your commitment. But not everyone has that person. And if you don't, that's more common than you think. It's not a character flaw, and it's not a reason to wait. Accountability doesn't have to be public. For some people, sharing progress openly works. For others, it creates more anxiety than momentum. What matters is that you create a system that makes it harder to quit quietly. Whether that's telling one person, keeping a simple record of your consistency, maintaining an honest journal, or reviewing your week every Sunday. The format doesn't matter. The honesty does. Because that's what discipline ultimately is. Not a personality trait you either have or don't. Not a gift reserved for exceptional people. It's a structure you build around yourself until showing up becomes the path of least resistance. Motivation asks how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask at all. Here's what it comes down to. Motivation is an idea. And ideas are easy. Everyone has them. The person who stays broke has ideas. The person who quits has ideas. Ideas are not the problem, and they are not the solution. Discipline is what creates the life you want. It builds confidence not by telling you that you can, but by proving it to you, one day at a time. It builds wealth not through a single moment of inspiration, but through the compounding effect of showing up when nobody is watching and nothing feels certain. You already have the idea. The only question now is whether you'll build the system. That's the difference between the people who want a better life and the people who actually build one.